Hello and welcome to our program. Today we are going to discuss about the ongoing situation in Kashmir. To discuss the issue we have with us Seema Mustafa, Editor-in-Chief of The Citizen, and welcome to our program. So before we move further, can you please describe what has happened in Handwara and does it show us increasing alienation in the Kashmir population once again?
Well, you see, Handwara is really what is happening in Kashmir these days. There's been a lot of protests. For the last 1 year particularly, I have not seen this kind of protests that we've been watching. We've been writing about it. On every issue, Kashmiri youth are out on the streets protesting. It could be anything. It could be water, it could be some governance problem, but more than that, it is all these major issues. Now in Handwara, there are three narratives. The one narrative is the army's narrative, that this girl was molested by a boy. Then there is the young people's, Kashmiri's narrative, which is that she was molested by a soldier. And then there is conflicting statements coming out from her and her family, where we don't know what the truth is. The truth is that 3 to 5 people were killed in police and army firing. The truth is that the girl and her father are in police custody. So these are the two facts. The rest is all stories, rumors, etc. I think it is one of the worst things that once the violence had taken place and the police firing had happened and 3 people had been killed, 2 young people known in Kashmir, 1 old woman, then why is it that the civil authorities decided to ask the army to go and take a video of the girl and sort of feed into the protests and feed into the anger? Now they have now dismantled army bunkers over there. They could have done that right at the beginning. Mehbooba Mufti, who is the Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, along with whoever called themselves the civil authorities, should have gone over there immediately and tried to douse the temperament, instead of getting this other controversial video out in an area where there is such an amazing trust deficit between the army and between the Kashmiris.
So when you talk about this trust deficit, what's the reason behind it? Is it that the governments have continuously failed to deliver on the promises, fulfill basic needs of the citizens of Kashmir, or the broader question of the Armed Forces Special Power Act?
There have been so many things that have happened and that have gone wrong in Kashmir, and it has been the apathy. But to put it in a sort of a nutshell, not the reasons alone, but the responses. The responses have been from the civil authorities. 1, you've tampered with the elections. 2, let me go into very recent history. When Umar Abdullah came in, this time the young people of Jammu and Kashmir had actually voted for him, despite all the problems that Kashmir has about its legacy, about its solution, about its present and its past and its future. Despite all that, a lot of people went and voted for him. And then they had a chief minister under whose tenure 118 young people were killed in police firing in 2010. So this was yet another betrayal, the latest betrayal in a series of betrayals, as the Kashmiris see it. Then there was this, the PDP, Mufti and BJP alliance, which also you found that the Kashmiris were a little divided. Some were supporting it, some were not supporting it. But then the BJP started with its agenda, the RSS came out with its agenda, Jammu, there were protests and demonstrations held, Article 370 was questioned, and all kinds of little things happened where the RSS started pushing its agenda, and there was a complete chaos inside Kashmir. So I feel that somehow New Delhi and even the governments in Jammu and Kashmir have not been able to understand their own voters and their own Kashmiris, let alone even begin to answer their aspirations.
So you have brought in one very important point, the RSS and the government at the center now. So if you look at the incidents in JNU or in various universities across nearby Delhi, where the Kashmiri students have been treated badly by the local administration or the police, and the incidents like anybody raising question of Kashmir is being treated as anti-national. So, is it a broader agenda of the government or of the organization?
Of course, look at what the government's doing, and I don't think people are seeing it. On one side now, they're saying we are in government in Kashmir. We are forming a government with the PDP. We are, and the PDP says that it respects autonomy, it wants more autonomy, it wants more rights for governance there, it wants, it takes certain positions, right, which they did in their campaign. So they said we are supporting that. On the other side, they go around the rest of the country using Kashmir to polarize, to create tensions, to beat up, like you said, Kashmiri students, to take the Afzal Guru and Maqbool Bhatt issues to target students here without even trying to find out what those meetings were about. So on one side, you are making Kashmir this, what should I say, like the mascot of a certain communal frenzy, and on the other side, you are moving with the Kashmiris to give them what you call good governance.
So, you have brought in another important point, and that is BJP PDP alliance. So, BJP obviously is sure about how it sees Kashmir. PDP's politics is very clear. How do you see these two parties coming together? How do you see the alliance moving ahead?
You see, when they came together, there were many voices in Delhi, and not necessarily from the BJP. There were many voices from within the PDP, there were many voices from within the Congress that said, well, this would be a good thing that would happen. They would both respect each other, Jammu and Kashmir will have to come together, and they will have to work it out in a particular way. Now, that would be an ideal situation, because the PDP had won most of the seats in the valley and the BJP had won most of the seats in Jammu. So, of course, with that kind of a mandate, you cannot disregard either, right? But the problem here was that while in the natural course of things, two parties with this kind of a mandate should come together to form the government, because either of them didn't have the majority on their own, the problem was the agenda that we are talking about, and which has become increasingly more and more apparent as the days and the months have gone by. And the agenda is that the RSS is not shifting from what it believes. One thing you have to give credit to the RSS for is its consistency. It is absolutely consistent in what it wants, what it believes about Kashmir. It has said it many number of times. It's talked of Akhand Bharat. It has even wanted the abolition of 370. It does not want to give any more rights. It is boxing the Kashmiris in a way. Policies are boxing the Kashmiris into their areas. Kashmiris who have come out and tried to avail of educational facilities are being beaten. Their parents are so worried, they're asking them to come back into Kashmir. The young people are angry because they've seen nothing happening on Kashmir. No money was given for the relief and rehabilitation that was expected after the floods, which was really a psychological problem for most of the Kashmiris who were involved. Then after that, you don't have any new industries, you don't see any development, you don't see any employment opportunities. Now, all those things are also true of Uttar Pradesh. This is another argument that, well, it is the same in Uttar Pradesh, it's in Madhya Pradesh, it's in all the other states. But the issue is that they're not border states. And anybody knows, any government, mature government in any part of the world knows that border states are far more sensitive. Particularly a state like Jammu and Kashmir, which is in the border, which is next to Pakistan, with which India and Pakistan, the problems that we've had, given the kind of composition of the population of that region, it's a very, very sensitive state. And it's only somebody who doesn't understand that who will go around constantly playing with that state.
So, looking at Indo-Pak relations and the continuous ongoing Cold War sort of situation, what do you think, what's the way ahead for Kashmir and what's the solution for the ongoing problems?
See, we have been saying it's been said, I think to some extent even Bajpayee did it in a small kind of a way, but one is you have to set up a dialogue. Whenever you have a problem with any issue or anything, you set up a dialogue. You set up a dialogue, why? Because it acts as a pressure valve. It takes whatever is happening onto the table. It makes you gauge policy. It gives you a good idea of how people are thinking on both sides so that you can bridge the gap. We don't have a dialogue. We don't have a dialogue with Pakistan for the last 2.5 years, or even more, under the Congress government. We don't have a dialogue with the Kashmiris. So then they say, oh, the Hurriyat for us is terrorists, they've got links with the terrorist outfits. But it was the Hurriyat that itself that was marginalized before 2010. You know, the Hurriyat itself didn't have a say. The leaders were not being accepted as leaders by this young generation that has been born and brought up in conflict. When the stone pelting happened in 2010, it was spontaneous. It was not commanded by any Hurriyat leader. It was only later that Syed Ali Shah Gilani stepped in. So the point is, there is a sentiment of alienation. You've got to address that sentiment. How do you do that? By beating them up, by killing them, by getting more draconian laws? Do you want it to go back to 1990? And everybody knows that you can never really go back. It always becomes much worse. Do you want that? Is that our policy? If that's our policy, fine, go ahead, do it. You know, but can you do that in today's day and age? Can you go and beat up an entire population? Can you have human rights violations without questions asked? Will it interfere in the growth and development that India wants and is aspiring for? You know, these are the questions. This is like, without a policy, there is some old agenda of communalization, and you're just going ahead with it without answering to yourselves, not even to you and me, but answer to yourselves. Does that agenda take you on a path that is conducive to even your vision of Akhand Bharat?
So I think restoring mutual trust is only the way ahead, I mean the primary step that we need to take. Thanks a lot for giving us your time, and as things proceed, we'll be coming back to you on such issues. Thanks a lot. Thank you for watching our program.